Hello everybody, my name is Eugen Družin and today I'm going to talk to you about DeFi strategies. Do you know what are the DeFi strategies? Maybe raise your hand. Okay, great. So basically DeFi strategies are the smart contracts that borrow and invest money, all to earn some interest, of course. So DeFi strategies was popularized by Yearn Finance. They wanted a simple and easy way to manage your treasury and earn some interest on your money. It was possible with the introduction of the concept of vaults. So what is the vault? Well, basically vault holds your money and transfers it to the strategy. How does the strategy earn money? Well, it transfers it to another protocol, let's say Compound on Curve, to earn some profit. And this way, we get this three-layer strategy. First is vault, then the strategy, then the underlying protocol. So let's go with the example of the vault. If I am bullish on Ether and I want to keep my Ether and earn some interest on it. So I go to the Ether vault, I have some wrapped Ether, I deposit into the vault, and I get representation shares of that vault with a YWET token. Basically, it's ERC20 token. That means that I can transfer it, deposit it somewhere else, sell it, whatever you want. The good thing is, like, I get the representation of the shares, and as the shares grow, basically as the vault grows, when I want to get out, for my tokens, I get more wrapped Ether. Basically, it's yield-bearing token. And how does the vault earn the money? Well, basically, it just transfers it to the different strategies. It can manage like one strategy or 15 strategies. It's important to point out that the vault is immutable code. That means that the code cannot change. And that means that basically your money is much more safer than if the code is mutable. Now let's dive deep into the strategy. As I said, strategy borrows the money from the vault, and what to do with that money? Well, it has to invest that money somewhere. And let's go with the example of the Compound. Compound is the lending borrowing market. As the strategy invests the money into the Compound returns like the representation C, Ether, and additional token, Compound token. And because at the start I was bullish at Ether, I want to earn my money and interest in the form of Ether. So what I want to do is I want to sell all my Compound to get additional Ether, and that Ether I can again invest into the Compound. So here we have problems. If I want to sell a Compound, what's the best way to sell it? Or you can go to the Uniswap, but the problem is if the liquidity changes from the Uniswap, you can switch to the SushiSwap or Balancer or you name it. So if you don't have liquidity on that DEX, well, you get slippage. Another problem is you can get front run. That means somebody can manage something to get less money for you. So they introduced the additional concept, it's called Trade Factory. That basically means, okay, I have strategy, I have additional rewards in the Compound, and I want to get Ether on my Compound. Then I say, okay, Trade Factory, take my Compound when it's the most profitable time and give me Ether, and that's all. Like, it simplifies the strategy much more, and it's much more safer. It's also important to say that strategies are also immutable. Well, when we have the vaults strategies, now we need to test our strategies. How we do it? Basically, we run it on the forks. Fork is we get the current state of the mainnet, fork it, and we test everything we want with our strategies. Like the good thing with the forks is basically you get the whole state of the mainnet, and you don't need to deploy additional contracts like wrapped Ether, Compound, Uniswap, you get it all at the start. And for testing, we use high amounts, because when you test it with the high amounts, problems get much faster. You see the problems much faster. Because, for example, for APR calculations, if I want to invest some money, when I invest $10,000, like APR will stay the same. But if I invest in some protocol $10 million, then APY will go down. And if I test on high values, I will track that much faster than on the small values. Basically, when I test, I want to cover all the edge cases, because the devil is in the details, and if you don't catch edge cases, probably you will get hacked. That's why we have some templates to start. You can go with Brownie framework. Basically, it's deprecated now, so we switched to ApeWorks. It's in the Python. Or you can do it in the Foundry, where you write your test in the Solidity. And as you can see here, we test into production. That doesn't mean we run the test in the production, just we have separate vaults that go under the ape tags. So we deploy our strategy that is not reviewed and everything ready for the production, but on the separate front end that usual people don't see it. So we put small amounts and see how the strategy will go, are all steps covered, and that's a great way to see how your strategy will handle the production code. And now we know what is vault, what is strategy, how to test it. Now we are ready to code and earn some yield, right? Well, not really, because strategy is only tip of the iceberg here, and all problems are beneath the water. Before you can even write the strategy, you need to do the due diligence of the protocol you're going to use. The protocol can be upgradable, and that's a whole beast to tackle, because with the upgradable protocol, it can change. If the protocol changes, that means they can rug you, and you lose your money. We don't want that. For everything, you need to set up monitoring. Monitoring is important to catch the changes, and also API changes from day to day. So you want to be ready to give more money to the strategy or to remove money from the strategy if the API drops. So what is due diligence? Due diligence is basically a document where you write all these things. Like you start from the team, like who is inside the team. Are they capable of managing the protocol they've written? Of course, they can be unknown, so you need to get some kind of verification for that people. The second part is funding, like how the protocol get funded, how much money do they have token? If they have token, you can get like the different balances of the team, how much the founding team has, how much the investor have, and you can see the power of forces inside the protocol. The second thing is treasury. Like if the protocol doesn't have treasury or it has small treasury, you can see the runway of the protocol. If they don't have a runway, I don't know, for 6 months, well, probably doesn't make sense to even do all this process. And you have to check the multisig. Like treasury is usually underneath the multisig. Multisig can send the money from the treasury, and you need to check all the people who is inside the multisig. Basically because, I don't know, if the multisig is 2 out of 3 people, it doesn't make too much sense. And those 2 people can rug all the money, so that's the problem. The next thing is you have to read all the protocol audits of the protocol you're going to use, of course, because reading the audits, you get much better understanding of the protocol and the potential bugs that your strategy is going to have. And after reading the protocol audits, you need to see if they tackle all the high and medium findings. If they didn't, you need to ask them, okay, why did you didn't fix this, or you fix it another way? And after that, they deploy their code on the mainnet, but deployed code doesn't have to be the same as the audited one. So that's the additional problem you have to check, because what's the audit? Well, it's like some kind of code that goes through some security checks. And when it's done, they do some changes, okay, that's done, and we deploy it. But as I said, there can be additional changes that are not audited, so you need to take care of that also. Next thing is bug bounties. Like, bug bounties give you much more confidence into the protocol, because if the protocol doesn't have bug bounties, well, if they have some bugs, protocol will probably get hacked, and you will lose money. With the bug bounties, you have some kind of confidence that if there is some bug, they will report it, not rug it. So. And another thing is protocol TVL. You have to verify how much the TVL is inside the protocol, because you don't want to put too much money. If you put too much money, you will get too high percentage of that protocol, and you will drain your APY as you change your investment. The problem is the protocol you're going to use, it can use additional protocols. Like, for example, Yearn Finance was using multiple protocols, also the Euler. And the Euler got hacked, not Yearn, but also the Yearn lost money, and we had a strategy that lost money. But we did the due diligence of the Yearn, but not the Euler. So if you are going to use the protocol that uses another protocol, it goes like recursively. You have to do the due diligence of all the protocols that are going to be used. So if you're going to write the strategy, keep it simple. And of course, you have to do the calculations for the APY, because if the APY is too small, it doesn't make sense to even start to write the strategy. And of course, you need to set up monitoring for your strategy. It starts like with understanding your strategy. What are the risks and pitfalls of your strategy? And second thing, as I said, the upgradability is a really big problem, because you do the due diligence of the protocol, and the protocol upgrades. So you need to set up monitoring to track when it's going to upgrade, what are changes going to do, and stuff like that. Usually the upgrades are behind the multisig. Multisig you probably checked before, so probably it's the same, it's the good thing. And upgrades usually go to the concept of time lock controller. You have the implementation in the Open Zeppelin, so that's a good thing. They use it like a very simple concept. Okay, if I want to do changes, I push the changes into the queue. In the queue, that transaction has to stay, as I said, like usually minimally 48 hours. And you need to track that. Okay, if the transactions are in the queue, check the transactions, run the simulation, see how it's going to affect your strategy and the whole protocol. And after the 48 hours, they can trigger those transactions and basically upgrade the whole protocol. For this, it's great to use tenderly, because you can easily set up the alerts you're going to need, and also you can run the simulations of the transactions they're going to use to upgrade the protocol. New problem is if the protocol is adding new assets, because adding new assets, it can put some kind of imbalances into the protocol, especially lending protocol. Probably you know the problem with Aave they had with the curve. If they add the new asset that has a really low liquidity, well, it puts the whole protocol in danger. So you also have to monitor that. If they are adding new assets, they have to have like some kind of process how to add that asset and what to watch for. Also, like APY changes all the time, and this is important if you have like the leverage strategies. I don't know, I can put leverage 2 times, 5 times, 10 times. It's not always profitable to put like 10x, 10 times leverage. Sometimes it's much more profitable to put 5 times leverage or 2 times leverage. So you need to set up monitor for that and run the simulations all the time. Like we usually do it every 8 hours. You run the simulation, get alerts, okay. You are using the most optimal leverage, or you are not using the most optimal leverage. And another thing with the lending borrowing market is like they can have bad debt, so you also need to track that. Bad debt is basically the debt that is not profitable to liquidate or to pay off. That means that the last guy who is going to withdraw, is going to take the loss. So if we are here, the bridge is hitting this iceberg, you want to be the first person who is jumping off the bridge, of the ship that's hitting this. So you have to have alerts for that to be the first guy who is jumping off. And now, when we all know the steps to production, let's again review it. We did due diligence, we program our strategy. Now the strategy needs to go to the multiple reviews. First, it's reviewed by at least 2 other strategies. It's great because the strategies have written other strategies and they will fast point to some bugs that you made. And after it passes, it goes to the ape tax. As we said, we tested into the production on the small amounts. Next step is the security team takes that code and do their review. It's much more thorough, and they also check the underlying protocol you are using. The next thing is when they approve it, say, okay, great. Then you again need to publish your smart contract, basically your strategy. You need to verify it on Etherscan, and you need to push it to the production. When it's into the production, monitoring has to be set up to track all the changes, as I said before. And important thing to notice here, strategy ownership. Like with the strategy you've written, you need to push it all the way, from the start until the end. Like nobody is going to tell you, okay, this strategy is good, come on, do this, or okay, you need to change this. You need to track everything about your strategy and change it as it goes. So when we have our strategy in production, everything is working, monitoring is set up, we can earn some yield and relax into the sun. Well, also not really, because in blockchain it's high pace, everything is changing all the time, and there are new concepts. Yearn is introducing the concept of vaults V3. It is based on ERC 4626. That means that everything is tokenized. We are not going to need vaults anymore to get the benefit as before. That means that everybody can go, okay, I have an idea, I'm going to write a strategy. Like say, oh, fuck Yearn, the process is too long, I'm going to do it by myself. Yeah, it's okay, you can do it now by yourself. Because the ERC 4626 means that everything is tokenized, and on that vault did all the managing and the reporting and yield-bearing token, now it's inside the strategy. So it simplifies everything. And another thing, okay, the vaults are going to exist, but now it can use the multiple strategies, one vault can use another one. Before it was not possible. And yeah, basically that's it.